Hi, my name is David Parker, and I'm one of the co-founders of Consentus, and we deliver TPP regulatory and identity checking for PSD2 open banking here in Europe.
Fantastic. So I've been hearing some very good reports that Consensus have, been running or have been nominated for quite a few awards. Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Yeah, we've had a very good run so far. We won 3 awards of the 4 final nominations at this year's Emerging Payments Awards. Tonight we're at the Payment Awards, where we're up for 2. And then we've just heard today we've been nominated again as finalists in 2 categories for the Cards and Payments Awards, obviously in February. So it's great. If you think about it, we launched the company in January 2018. So we're still relatively a young company. And it's really nice, the industry recognition we're receiving in terms of how far we've grown the company, how far it's got to, but also the innovative nature of the solution of what we're bringing to market and how it really is market leading in what it's doing. So it's great industry recognition, I think, for what we're achieving, and more importantly, the added value we're bringing to the payment sector.
Fantastic. So for the people that don't know, tell us a little bit more about exactly what the business does.
Certainly. So let's say you were to walk into Money Supermarket and say, can you aggregate my accounts from Lloyds Bank maybe and Barclays? Obviously Money Supermarket will go and knock on the door of the banks. Now the first thing the bank's going to say is, who are you? Because there's no contracts between people these days in this new world of TPPs and banks. So what we do effectively is take their passport, it's called an EIDAS certificate, and we check to see whether it's a real passport. So that's EIDAS checking. The challenge is, though, when you issue an EIDAS certificate, it's only valid for the actual date it's issued on, effectively. So you know that person was regulated on the day it was issued. But are they still regulated now a year later? You don't know that. You also don't know, they've asked you for a data aggregation service, but are they regulated for that or payment initiation services? So you've got to check both on what they're regulated for and if they're still regulated. Now to do that, you have to link out to all the 28 national competent authorities and pull the data in from them. So that's what we've done. Now the problem is, none of those are machine readable. And none of them are online, real time, and they're all in different languages. So there's a whole bit of work of data normalization that goes on to pull all of that together. So what we can then deliver out to customers on a single API is a simple way of checking on a TPP's regulatory and identity status. By the way, much as today, most financial services companies, or a lot of them, outsource things like PEP and sanctions checking. Their KYC they've got to do. We effectively, you could say, almost do the PEP and sanctions check on a TPP to make sure they're regulated and you can give them the information. After all, if you go and give someone data or authorize a payment that goes through and it's not allowed, think of the risks that is to the bank. It risks reputation, in the press. It has a financial risk to it. Okay, it has huge risks if you were to do a transaction where that party is not regulated properly or approved properly. So what we do at Consentus is basically eliminate the risks to ASPSPs of providing information or data to a party that's not regulated properly. We're effectively a risk reduction company, you could say.
Fantastic. So I would gather that you're speaking to a lot of banks at the moment. What are you hearing are the big issues?
I think we've got a number of big issues out there, obviously, around getting things moving. Obviously, the FCA has delayed things in the UK for 6 months, but that's only in the UK. Throughout the rest of Europe, everything's meant to be happening on schedule. But yes, there has been a slow build-up. And we're hearing at the conference here today, I think it was 150 million transactions, but if you look back 12 months, there were hardly any. So in the UK, which is, let's say, 18 months ahead of the rest of Europe, we're starting to see a huge hockey stick up. Well, likewise then, in Europe now, we're about to start seeing this huge hockey stick up effect of real volume coming in. So yes, it's been slower than people have expected, but also a lot of people are saying to us, we can see the momentum starting to build. If you look at TPPs and where they're regulated or have passport to, there is pretty much not a single market in Europe now where there are not 10, 20 TPPs that have passported there. So whilst banks may not be starting to see a lot of transactions yet, you can start to see it sort of building, and it's about to start really driving through. So I suspect that by the Q1 next year, we're going to start to see real volumes of transactions coming through. And the banks, as said, one of the big issues, they're all starting to get ready for this, but it's not quite there yet. So you never know what's going to hit you until it hits you, so to speak.
Yeah, that brings me quite nicely into my last and final question. Where do you see open banking going over the next few years?
I think open banking will, but not over the next few years, migrate to more open finance. That's the big picture. But where will open banking go, I think, is you're already starting to see huge numbers of consumer propositions come forth, as well as small business propositions. I think the key thing is we'll stop talking about open banking. Much as in the audience today, there was a question asked, how many people have made an RFID payment? I think, only 10, 15% of the audience put their hand up. When the guy asked then how many have made a contactless payment, 99% of the hand turned up. Who cares about the technology? It's much more about the proposition. So, if we're talking about a couple of years' time on open banking, it will be who's using it to link accounts to do this, or who's using it for that. People will be talking about the use cases, the propositions, the benefits, rather than sort of the underlying technology, which is open banking. And I think that's the big step change, because once consumers and businesses start talking about how they're using this functionality, then you're actually starting to understand they're getting benefit from it, and that's where I see it going in the next few years.
Fantastic. So stepping away from consensus, we're at obviously Open Banking Expo 2019 London. What brings David Parker to an event like this?
With a consensus hat on, there's a lot of banks here. Our customers are ASPSPs, so we sit behind ASPSPs, almost invisibly, you could say. A TPP doesn't see us, nor does anyone else. So we need to come here to talk to current customers, current partners, but also to talk to new partners and new customers. So it's a great opportunity for us to meet the whole ecosystem in one place.
Fantastic. So what has been your highlight of today so far?
Highlight today will have been a partner that we spoke to in the past, wasn't quite ready to work with us, has today said, yeah, right, let's get this moving and let's sign the agreement to get moving. So, you come to one of these events, you sign a partnership or get ready to move forward on a partnership. What can be better on something like that?
Fantastic. Thank you, David.